People hate Korra. And I'm not talking about people hating the show, The Legend of Korra. No, I'm talking about they hate specifically Avatar Korra. It's basically become a meme at this point. People making almost their entire personality about hating Korra and her show, feeling justified in their hate after the announcement of Seven Havens. Plain and simple, a lot of people do not like this girl. Why is that? With Avatar The Last Airbender being so damn iconic and popular over the past couple of decades, widely regarded as one of the best animated series of all time, you would think that its sequel, and by extension its main character, would get a similar amount of love, but that's just not how it's worked out. One of the things I consistently see when it comes to people talking about why Korra sucks, why Avatar Korra is the worst, is the fact that she's always losing, which is obviously a problem for someone who's supposed to be our hero. Especially when it comes to the main antagonist, Korra struggles a lot. Her wins are conditional. There's always a catch. There's always a trade. Why is that? In this video, we're going to take a look at how Korra's inability to overcome her greatest enemy of all has done irreparable damage to her reputation, both in-universe and to fans. Let's start with Season 1. Off the jump, Korra as a character is introduced to us as some sort of like combat bending prodigy. From a very young age, Korra is able to show some skill with 3 out of the 4 elements: fire, water, and earth. There's a time skip. Korra is a teenager and she's absolutely dominating her firebending instructors. Then she goes to Republic City and just crushes the triple threat thugs that she runs into. Now hold up, Ray, I thought you were talking about why Korra loses all the time, and right off the bat, you list 2 examples where she wins. But that's the problem though. She dominates in these fights early on, and then she struggles a lot in the pro bending arena against the equalists and their chi blockers. People seem to be especially harsh on her for losing to these chi blockers. Here's why I'm willing, at least in Season 1, to forgive a lot of these losses that Korra takes. Because Korra, although being introduced to us as this girl who's really good at fighting, she swings first, asks questions later, she mastered 3 elements really quickly. You have to remember Korra, her upbringing was super sheltered. She spent most of her life living in the South Pole, growing up in the White Lotus training compound that they had her locked away in. She was constantly being watched, monitored in an effort to, as we learn later on, to protect her, which couldn't be more different from the way Aang grew up as an air nomad, traveling the world, experiencing different cultures and different fighting styles. Korra doesn't have any real world experience. I don't even think she even grew up with anyone her age. They sort of explore this aspect of Korra when she first learns about pro bending. Bolin is looking at her stance and he's like, no, that's like old school, girl. That's gonna slow you down. You gotta bring your fighting style into the modern era. It's more like boxing now. From a writing perspective, it's interesting. We're watching in real time this person who grew up being told that they were special, that they were going to be the savior of the world, the most important figure in the world, someone who had access to private tutors and some of the best benders in the world, getting humbled in real time. And even when Korra seems to have someone on the ropes, on the back foot, like you think that she's gonna win, something weird happens out of nowhere to take that away from her, like when she's about to beat down Tarlok and he's like, oh, by the way, I'm a bloodbender, you lose. We're watching her arrogance cool off a little bit, and Korra is confronted by the fact that maybe she's not as powerful as she thinks she is, and she gets to experience real fear, be confronted with the ugliness of the world of Republic City. Which brings us to Korra's first big loss, Amon. In the end, Korra can do absolutely nothing against Amon and his bloodbending. He takes her bending away, and yeah, while she's able to unlock airbending and yeet him out the window, she doesn't necessarily beat Amon. She just kind of exposes him. Wait, pause. She reveals that he's a fraud in front of his followers. This, of course, leaves her at her lowest point. Aang shows up, gives her back her bending, and makes her a fully realized avatar, someone who's able to enter in and out of the avatar state at will. We'll get back to that lowest point thing later. That Season 1 finale, Korra mastering all elements, including air, mastering the avatar state, literally being able to spirit bend and give other people their bending back, that creates the first major out-of-universe problem when it comes to Korra always losing, and it is the birth of her greatest adversary of all, the writers. I can't find anything to confirm this, but season 1, you watch it and you gotta imagine that it was just supposed to be like a one-off miniseries. And then Nickelodeon's like, no, you gotta continue the story because now the writers have written themselves into a corner. They've screwed themselves. Because we know, as viewers, as fans, especially those of us who grew up watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, that a fully realized avatar, someone who has mastered all 4 elements and can enter into the avatar state at will, is the strongest being in the verse. Avatar Kyoshi was literally able to alter the geography of the world, create an entire island, and stop Chin the Conqueror's military campaign single-handedly. Roku was able to stop dead in its tracks the Fire Nation's entire military campaign. Just the threat of Roku, and even the strongest firebender in the world, Fire Lord Ozai, hopped up on Sozin Comet, was no match at all for Aang in the Avatar state. With Korra becoming a fully realized avatar at the end of the first season, now the writers have to scramble because now they're like, well, shoot, we made Korra the equivalent of this world's Superman, and what kind of enemies can give Superman a run for his money? How do you challenge the strongest person in this world? How do you generate conflict to make it interesting? And in Korra's case, in season 2, which a lot of people agree is the weakest season of Korra, they decided, okay, well, there's no real physical threat to Korra right now. Let's make her fight a bunch of these crazy overpowered spirits, which obviously culminates in her battle with Unalaq and Unavatu, which is an Omega level threat that the world has never seen. Like, you think that Avatar Aang was dealing with something like 1,000 years or eternal darkness? No, at least not that we know of. What's really frustrating about Korra's fight with Unalaq, the Dark Avatar, Unavatu, whatever you want to refer to him as, is that the show gives you these moments that make you think that she's gonna turn it around and win. When Unalaq has Korra trapped between the ice and he's crushing her, she has this moment where she's like, I don't know if I can get out of this, maybe I'll just give up. Rava whispers in her ear, she's like, don't give up, Korra, I'm with you, let's do this. Boom, she bursts out of the freaking ice and she goes, you cannot win. Boom, 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 starts giving Unalaq the business. The theme song starts going in the background. All of the creators needed to do in this moment was just have Korra beat the crap out of Unalaq, save the day, end the show. That would have been a way better ending than what we got. But nah, they were like, no. We gotta set up this fight between like these spirit kaiju. I don't know if someone at the network was like, we gotta have like a giant spirit battle, you know, kind of like book 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender, where there was like a freaking giant spirit koi fish. So they were like, you're right, you know what? Instead of having Korra beat this guy, having this really cool emotional comeback, let's make it to where he tears out Rava and severs the connection to the Avatar cycle. Fans will love that. So okay, that happens, and then Korra reconnects with her inner spirit, becomes big blue spirit Korra, faces off with Unavatu in the Bay of Republic City, and then they do it to us again. They do it to us again, dude, because she comes in hot. She's fighting Unavatu. She's not even like bending or anything. She goes and straight grapples this guy, throws him up against the mountain. You think again she's gonna win, she's gonna score a W, but again, the writers were like, you know what, instead of having giant blue spirit Korra beat the crap out of the bad guy, how about we make it so she's about to be corrupted or exorcised by the spirit bending that Unavatu's doing, and then at the last minute, we'll have Jinora come in and do like a spirit flash bomb? I don't know. Why did the creators think that we as fans would want to see that version versus Korra, our hero, score an absolute victory over the main antagonist? And this is where we start to see the true toll of Korra losing. Because not only is she losing these fights, but she's also losing people's trust in and out of universe, the characters in the show, and also the fans, the viewers. So much so that I've literally seen people attribute the loss of the past avatars' lives to Korra. They're framing it like she did that intentionally, completely ignoring the fact that there was like this evil mastermind manipulating this teenage girl who spiritually rearranged her guts. And then you move on to season 3. Often pointed to as the best season of Korra, mostly because of Zahir and the Red Lotus. Korra and Team Avatar spend most of the season on the run. She takes a pretty decent W when her and Asami fight those bandits, but when it comes to Zahir and the Red Lotus, she's constantly on the back foot. And the season ends with her taking yet another major loss at the hands of the Red Lotus, tied up tortured, poisoned, crippled. Once again, we see Korra's biggest enemy, the writers, putting her in these situations that just suck. Like, oh, what if she fought Zahir alongside her dad? That'd be cool. But what if she was chained up? What if she went into the Avatar state and was doing all this crazy stuff, kicking ass, but she was also getting poisoned and slowly dying? Then we get to the 4th season. Korra, obviously broken, out of the game for a couple of years. My biggest beef with season 4 is that, okay, she's facing off against Kuvira in the finale. This is not the Korra that we saw earlier challenging Kuvira to a 1v1 outside of Zaofu. This is a more complete Korra, a balanced Korra. Spiritually, she's at peace. There is no reason why this fight should have been as close as it was. Kuvira, a very talented earth and metal bender, but it's not like she's a crazy Omega level confused spirit like in season 2, or an airbender that unlocked the lost ability to fly, or even someone like Ozai who's hopped up on that comet juice. She's a powerful bender, but we've established that the Avatar can handle people like that no diff. This fight should have ended with Korra unquestionably stomping out Kuvira. But for some reason, the writers were like, no, let's make it more like a draw. The writers, for whatever reason, decided that it would be better for viewers to constantly see Korra lose. She's at her lowest point at the end of season 1. Oh, but she's also at her lowest point at the end of season 2 when she loses her connection to her past lives. Oh, but she's also at an even lower point at the end of season 3 when she's crippled. She loses the use of her legs and has to go to rehab. That's not necessarily a bad thing. People take L's in life. People fail, especially in anime. God, I remember Ichigo getting his ass kicked every single arc. By Byakuya, by freaking Aizen, by Grimjow. But especially in anime, even though we see our heroes take fat L's, they get their asses beat, most of the time they have an opportunity to bounce back and get that win. Korra never gets that. I don't know why they decided to make that happen. Maybe they were like, well, yeah, that's more like the real world, right? Things are gray, there's no clear winner or loser, but it has done irreparable damage to her reputation, and it sucks. No wonder that people are blaming her for the end of the world after the announcement of Seven Havens, because if you're sitting there and you're a Korra hater, you're like, well, she couldn't handle Amon, she couldn't really handle Unalaq, she couldn't handle the Red Lotus, and she could barely handle Kuvira. No wonder that the world ended on her watch. Korra is constantly being beat down in a way that makes her more relatable. She gets beat down, she comes back, she's willing to take up the fight for people who hate her, people who distrust her. I would have really liked to see one definitive win against a major antagonist like we got to see with Aang. Put yourself in Korra's shoes for a second. Imagine that you go up against Amon, lose your bending, get blood bent. You go up against a demon of eternal darkness that spiritually violates you. Then season 3, you get poisoned, you get tortured, you get handicapped, and all people can focus on is, oh, you're a homie hopper, you dated too many of your friends, you suck, you're always losing. In a way, not only are the writers her biggest enemy, but also the fans. You have a big swath of the fandom that want to see Korra lose, that want to blame all of the Avatar world's problems on her, because she opened the spirit world, because she's arrogant, because she always messes up and loses. Those ideas have persisted for as long as Korra has been out, since 2011 or 12, whenever the series premiered. It actually reminds me of an episode in Avatar: The Last Airbender, Avatar Day, where an entire village hates the Avatar, and not just Avatar Aang, but the 2 previous Avatars, from Kyoshi to Roku. They waited 100 years in between Avatar Roku and Avatar Aang returning, and when he returned, they were like, you know what, I hate him too, because of that thing Kyoshi did all of those generations ago. Even though Avatar Studios is moving on from the story of Korra, even though we might not see her get that win that I desperately want to see out of her, she's for sure gonna play some sort of role in Seven Havens. And if you think for one moment that the writers are just gonna write her off as like some villain that is responsible for the end of the world, I don't think that you've really been paying attention to the last couple of Avatar series. Losing, making mistakes is a fundamental part about being the Avatar. Yes, they are these all-powerful masters of all elements capable of these amazing feats, but they're also human and prone to making mistakes. Look at Avatar 1 in season 2, the first Avatar. When he dies, does it look like he was a successful Avatar, that he scored any major wins in his life? No, he dies alone on the battlefield, full of regret. And that's something that persists with all of his other lives. All the Avatars that we see have some sort of regret. Oh, I was able to do this, but I neglected this, which eventually gave rise to this issue that you're dealing with now. I don't know how they're gonna handle it, but I think it's very likely that we see at least some sort of attempt on the writer's side to throw Korra a bone. Probably not gonna change anyone's minds, but I think the story is gonna be a lot deeper, a lot more complex than, oh, Korra ruined the world because she did X, Y, and Z. Anyways, that's all the rantings that I have about Avatar Korra and her losing streak. I'm happy to be making content for this channel again. I missed it. For all of y'all who have subscribed and waited for me to post new content, it's been like a year at this point. Thank you for sticking around and believing in me, and I'll see you in the next one.